Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale, Season 1, Episode 8. It's called Jezebels. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So we're in this trend right now, where we had 5 episodes that were strictly all Offred's backstory and point of view. And we've had this little trilogy. It could become more than a trilogy, but right now we've bounced. We had a Serena Joy episode with flashbacks. We had the episode that was just nothing but Luke, and then we've had this episode which was Nick's flashbacks.
Yeah, I'd expect it to continue at least one more. I'd say I could see the 10. So that you have the 5 and the 5.
Mm,
But I feel like they might want to have the last episode of the season from
back
her
to
again.
possibly, but at the same time, there's 2 characters I could see having their flashbacks still.
Oh, which two?
Well, I think obviously you think of the commander. You think, oh, maybe we'll get his side of the build up. The other one I think's extremely possible is much like next we might get a Moira kind of focus
Moira I
side.
can definitely see. The commander I'm not sure we need because we see a lot of it through Joy and through
No,
Nick.
that's fair. It feels like he's the final main character who we have around all the time that we've not had this devotion yet
Yeah.
of an episode. Now, admittedly, maybe the whole idea is that we're not meant to feel things from his point of view, so maybe we should never get his. Whereas everyone else is sympathetic to a degree,
Yeah.
uh, in some way. Obviously, varying degrees of it, but whereas he, of course, feels more, especially after this episode, even more slimy and
Yeah.
villainous and less of an actual person.
And finally, commander. Definitely a military position.
Yeah. What did they call it again? The something sparrows.
Yeah, I can't remember
Their
the name.
the name of their group, their uprising. They had a name. Oh, I've forgotten it.
It was Sons of Jacob.
Sons of Jacob. Why did I think Sparrow? Where did I
Yeah.
get Sparrow from?
I'm
Sons
not
of
entirely
Jacob.
sure.
Sons of Jacob. Yeah, it was Sons of Jacob.
Yeah.
Um, so now we have an episode for obviously all from his point of view, but Nick had the flashbacks, and they actually mirrored what was going on in the present day story quite well. And the present day story, of course, was that we see that Offred and him sleeping together in his place, above the garage, has become a normal thing. It's become something they're doing on a regular basis, and Offred is talking about how it's like, oh, she can, oh, I can say this is rebellious, this is me fighting back, but it's really just, it makes me feel better, and it feels good. So, again, it makes her feel like, as much as she is this victim, she also has weaknesses, and this is her
Yeah,
giving
she
in.
she's still a flawed character to some
Yeah,
degree because she even mentions how she kind of feels guilty because she knows Luke's alive, but
and she,
she's got this
and,
here.
and she even mentions that, like, as time goes on, like, she's forgetting him almost, like what he looks like, how he feels, what it's
Mm.
like to interact with him, those kind of things. Like, they're kind of fading memories at this point. And it's 3 years without seeing him. I can buy that she's getting to that stage.
Yeah,
Like if you were just in like regular present day, if you were in a married couple and one of them died, you think about 3 years sounds like the kind of time where they might start dating again. Enough time
yeah,
has
and
passed.
even in this one where she might actively try and I mean, there's two ways I can see it. She'd try and remember him because it was like, no, this is what I had, this is what I've lost, or she'd try and forget because it's easier not to think about it.
Yeah, I can get that side.
So
I can get
I'm
that.
not sure which way she'd go, but I can see either way.
It almost feels like she's just by the way it's worked out. It's almost like she's been forced into the second one because she is starting to forget.
Mm.
It doesn't seem like she willingly made that choice, but now that it's kind of already started, that maybe this is the easier path to take.
Yeah.
And when we say she's a flawed character, she's flawed in a human way, not in a she's part villain kind of. Like sometimes when you're talking about characters, when you say they're flawed, you mean they have a
They,
darker
they,
side.
in this
But
case, it's just they have faults. They're
yeah,
not perfect.
exactly. So we set that up, but the plot of this one is that the commander is in her room, which we've never seen before. Not without Joy being there,
Mm.
of course, and he gives her makeup, he gives her a dress and heels, and he's taking her somewhere for the night. Probably my favourite thing about that whole, the putting the makeup on scene is just how creepy he looked holding up that mirror. The way the depth of field was shifting between the mirror, her reflection, and his face, and his like sort of creepy smile. It was just
No, that
perfect.
was good for me. I think it was when he was shaving her legs, and she's like, "He's good at this."
done it before.
Shit, he's done this before. Yeah.
Which is really neat, of course, because it puts that in our heads, and then later on in the flashbacks we see the sort of the end result of the previous maid, the handmaid.
Yeah. But it works well because it's that moment of realization for her and a moment of reminding for us.
Yeah, and it sets it up nicely for that later scene. We don't actually find out much about the previous hand, even though we see like her hanging there, we see them getting rid of the body, but we don't really see. You assume that maybe we don't need to because it is the same kind of thing that we're seeing with Offred.
That's the assumption.
If there is more to it, though, I could see us getting a hand like her, like she'd get the flashbacks almost, even though she's not in present day. Like I could see that being an episode at some point, possibly.
Yeah, if we do get flashbacks with the commander, that's when I expect we'll see that relationship and see if there were any differences. And maybe
that would be a very good reason to do a commander flashback, as if that's the story they need to tell.
Yeah, show us. Obviously, he's like, oh, I did this, and then she hanged herself. And maybe show us what he did that was different this time. Yeah. And it's to prevent that.
And Joyce seems to be in on whatever he did, because she says to him as they're taking the body away, "What did you think would happen?"
Yeah.
She seems to be in on this, and maybe that's why he's being so secretive this time. He's making sure she doesn't know, perhaps. But and then there's the other thing is that she puts on the dress and she puts on the high heels and she comes out, and he's like, "Oh, you look beautiful." And all I can see when the camera's like on her is just uncomfortable. Her uncomfort of the whole thing. Like she's almost can barely walk because she feels so just out of it. Like it doesn't feel real. It feels like a weird nightmare.
Yeah. That and the idea that she's probably forgotten how to walk in heels.
Yeah, probably. But then and also I like about this is that at least for most of the scene when it's showing her, it's on a wide shot, sort of over his shoulder. And I like the idea that she feels little. It's not a close-up because we're not in her head here. We're noticing how small she feels in the world right now. So it's this wide shot, and she's just alone in the centre of it. Except him, of course, who's there. And obviously this kind of starts off the whole idea. But the big theme from this episode that I really hit home with me was the hypocrisy of all this.
Yeah.
We've got all these rules. Women aren't allowed to do this. They're not allowed to do that. But here he is giving her things she's not meant to have for his own pleasure, his own amusement.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like that's the obviously he was quite high up in this organization. We learned that he was kind of instrumental in implementing all this.
Yeah, at least from what we see, he's one of the 3 or 4 top people in the whole thing.
Yeah, but it kind of seems like everyone breaks these rules. Like at that level, even though they've instigated these rules for a reason, they're all breaking them.
Again, the hypocrisy. Like they know fine well, or they want to have their prostitutes and their booze and like all these things. They don't want to give any of it up, but they're making everyone else give it up because they see themselves as more important. It's just the idea of power. I think the scene that really does that for me. So they're in the car, and they make Offred put on the green hood, the wife outfit, and as far as you're concerned tonight, you're Serena, you're Mrs. Winterford, or Waterford. Is it Waterford or Winterford? Waterford. There you go. And they take her in the car, and obviously the whole thing's awkward for Nick. Nick's watching this. He's seeing her in the dress. He's there to take them to this place where he knows where they're going. What we find out later, it's basically like a fancy whorehouse in a hotel kind of idea.
Pretty much.
And he knows where they're going, and they're driving. And the scene while they're driving, it cuts to a flashback. Obviously, we had the first flashback where we see how he sort of becomes part of the organisation, which leads to him becoming an eye, because he's with this guy Price. He can't get a job. He's out in his luck, and Price kind of recruits him into this, and that's kind of the path that sets him on this. And we see that he's the driver for the commander. And it sort of shows how they first meet. But it cuts to this scene in him, and he's driving the car. And Price, commander, and then this other commander are in the back seat, and they're talking about the initial ideas. Oh, this is what we should do. We should have the handmaids. Oh, we can't call it. I can't remember what they called it at first.
The event.
The event. Yeah. For branding, we should have something a bit more religious. It's like the ceremony. Oh, the sit-in. First of all, it's just fascinating to see them. Just think about this. Like, what was their thought process when they were coming up with this?
It's really interesting to see. We're supposed to believe they're this religious organization, and but they're thinking about it like a business.
Yeah,
it's marketing and branding.
Yeah, honestly, as an atheist, I kind of think of religion in those terms a lot of the time myself. Anyway,
Organized religion, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Oh yeah, I'm not saying every single person who goes to
Yeah.
church is thinking about it. Oh, I'm part of a
But
business.
the organization of the religion
Yeah,
itself.
you're selling a product. You're selling a, and no
Yeah.
offense to anyone, but you're selling a lie almost to an extent.
Mm.
Is how you might want to interpret it, and I think like so they're selling this, and that third guy, the other commander, who's saying, oh, we should round all the fertile women up and impregnate them. So you're talking about concubines. I don't care what you call it. He just dismisses it. Like the idea that these people are human beings that should have any say in this. He just dismisses it outright, and it's just this hypocrisy. But in this scene, they're talking about how important it is for everything, and they leave the car, and it's just our commander with Nick in the seat, and he starts talking to Nick. He's like, "Oh, how are you? What's your name?" And they kind of make small talk, and then he asks him like, "What do you think of all this that's going on?" Like, and they specifically talk about like not getting close to the fertile woman. It's like, who do you think that benefits? He's like, you think, oh, it benefits everyone. And Nick, you perhaps maybe thinks even believes that at this point. Like he is kind of in this world. He is a proponent of this new world that's coming.
Yeah.
But then it cuts back to present day, and he's driving the car whilst the commander is completely betraying everything he was saying in that previous scene. And it completely shows, again, the word hypocrisy. I'm going to use that a lot in this episode, because everything felt like it was showing the bullshit he says, and the bullshit all these other powerful men say, and then what they're actually doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think that moment applies to Nick as well. Like, obviously, he's looking back and going, he's got this attachment to Offred now as well.
Yeah. And even just on a non-hypocrisy level, it just, like, maybe that's him realising his own bullshit, like, or maybe even it's like, yeah, I don't want to get close to people because they always end up hurting me. And and right now he's hurting because he's watching Offred, who he now cares about, with him.
I think it's more he knows, even at the time in the flashbacks, he knew what they were doing was wrong, but it's the idea that he doesn't have to feel guilty if he cares about someone, because he can just ignore them. They're the faceless masses. But if he's got a personal connection with someone, he will feel guilty because he knows it's wrong.
Yeah, and it's not. You see the guilt on him. You see the jealousy on him. You see a lot of things on his face in this episode. He goes through a world. Every time he's opening the door for them to get out of the car, to get in the car. He's standing with them in the elevator. There's that great moment when they eventually get out of the car and they go up. It's when they come out the elevator and the commander's giving her the earrings, and he's like, "Oh, doesn't she look beautiful?" And he's like, "Yes, Commander." And the shot's perfect because the commander's in between the two of them. Like they're situated where the commander's literally in the middle of them. He's the block in the center, and it's kind of perfect just the way they've set it up.
Just something I noticed there as he was doing the earrings. He moves her hair from behind her ear. Has she got a tag on the top ear, like a number on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never noticed that before.
Oh yeah, but I think we've seen it once or twice. Yeah, all the
I don't think I ever noticed it. Even though, because they typically have the hair or the white hats.
It's basically the barcode.
Yeah, it's like a serial number.
Yeah.
I'd never noticed it before. I mean, but it's just on the ear.
Yeah. Also, another line I want to point out in the car actually is at one point she's staring out the window, she's looking around because she's never really seen this place at night. Not in years anyway, and we see the checkpoints and all the rest of it, and he says, "Oh, I thought you're not enjoying yourself," and it's almost like, oh, he thinks he's giving her a treat by letting her come outside. It's this master and dog mentality that he seems to have with her.
Yeah, and he talks about how the checkpoint where even she's not allowed through, and he goes, "Oh, it's dangerous," but that's part of the fun.
Yeah, that's the excitement, like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he knows that if this goes down, it'll be her more than him.
It's her that gets in trouble, yeah.
Yeah. To a point, I mean, we do have that one scene with the eyes where the other commander gets into trouble because he's doing something he's not meant to be. And we see that the eye, like the non-uniformed eye, the civvy undercover eyes, are more for almost spying on the commanders to make sure they're maintaining the law they're supposed to be part of.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's also interesting that Nick seems to be reporting very little of anything right
now.
I
think that's clearly because he knows if he reports it, they take Offred away, and he doesn't want to lose her.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So no, that whole scene was great. Tense, everything about it, uncomfortable, and again, it does that great thing where you feel like you're in her head the entire time. You feel her uncomfort throughout the whole thing. So obviously, it's because before they actually go in, I was kind of getting a sense of what the place was going to be. It's going to be this place where a lot of the commanders either bring their handmaids like this, or there is hookers, that kind of thing. It's going to be them getting away with everything they're telling everyone else they're not supposed to have.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it is. And they actually confirmed the opposite of what I was thinking here later on. But for a second, I thought, wait, is this? Because it was when they go to the bar and she says, "Oh, who are these people?" And he describes all the men, and she's like, "No, the women. Who are they?" It's like, "Oh, this is people who couldn't adapt to the new lifestyle. There's a lawyer over there. There's so on and so forth." And I was like, "Oh wait, is this the colony? Like, is the colony this myth that it's like this death place, but it's actually like you turn into a prostitute?" In secret. Now we find out later on, of course, that it's actually they both exist. They're given a choice. Yeah, they go to the colony, or you come here and be a Jezebel, which is what they call it. Hence the name of the episode. But as soon as this conversation was going, I was like, I know who we're going to see at some point in a minute, and it happened within a few minutes. Actually, it was very quickly. But I was like, we're going to see Moira. Moira's here. It just made too much sense to not have her here. And sure enough, she was there, and there's that great moment where they catch each other's eyes and they see each other, and Moira gets up to go to the bathroom, and you can sort of tell that's what she's doing, and a minute later Offred does the same thing. She's like, I need to go to the bathroom, and she's making with the nice, and she's doing all the rest of it, and they meet up in the bathroom, and she's like, come see me later, we don't have much time, because we see even here that they have some strict rules, because the woman comes in and says to her, no, you need to go back outside, like, the rules. Even though they are allowed to drink and stuff like that, there is still some restrictions.
Basically, you got to be on the shop floor, so to speak.
Exactly.
During business hours.
Yeah. As she says later, it's all the booze she wants, but like she has to work nights, as she puts it.
Yeah.
So no, and before we move on to that, we'll mention the scene with Nick. Nick has a regular partner that he's been seeing, because we see him exchange stuff with this woman who works at this place. He gives her some drugs, she gives him some other stuff. I can't remember what she gave him now, but she gave him various supplies. And she goes in to make a move, and it's very familiar. Even his response is, "Oh, not this time, not tonight." And you get the sense that even he, much like Offred, feels like there's cheating going on. Although he almost has the extra benefit of being able to say, "No, I'm breaking this off because I care about someone else."
Yeah.
He has that choice.
I mean, it's the same idea that he's still the one in power anyway. He's still the man in this building, even though he hasn't got the power of the commanders. He's still a higher rank than her. He can still boss her around.
It definitely seems here though, even because these women are all dressed up. They're kind of like the Marthas, but they're working here. It seems like even because she seemed very flirty, and it felt very like they have a looser.
Yeah, a bit more freedom.
Not freedom, but they have a looser set of rules than the women at the house do.
I meant freedom in the sense of that they can at least seem to say more.
Yeah. But yeah, so... But then, of course, he watches Offred go with the commander into the elevator up to the room, and he knows what that means. He understands it, and you see mix of, guilt, jealousy, everything. The whole shebang. And so... He makes his move on her in the room, the commander, and it's very, very uncomfortable to watch. He starts stroking her arm, and he's like, "Oh, do you want this?" And she's like, "Yes." But as he's like kissing behind her, kissing her neck, and all that kind of thing, she's got tears round in her face, and it's almost like this is the first time it's actually like a proper affair, because it's not it's not the ceremony, it's an actual hotel room. She's in a dress. It's more.
Yeah, and just the idea that she was asked, even if it was like maybe there was false pretenses. If she'd said no, he'd have been like tough. You don't know, but the idea that at least she was actually asked, which she never has been before in this scenario.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the way he phrases it, you could say it's very shady the way, because he says, "Do you want this?" He doesn't say, "Can I do this?" He says, "Do you want this?"
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's the idea that even if she'd said no, he probably could have still would have done it anyway.
No, he would have, because he didn't ask for permission. He was just asking if she wanted it. Like,
yeah.
At least I think that's how his mind would work. But he keeps just saying, "Do you like this place?" And I almost think, no, this place makes it worse. Is it because like for her situation and like everything she's going through? Because think about it, like before, okay, everything was horrible, but you might have a shred of something to hold on to just like think of the idea that okay, they're being ultra strict, but they have on this pure like unhuman logical way this idea, this plan they want to fulfill, this, to repopulate the country and so on. Like, maybe you would find some comfort in that, but finding out that they're actually all just a lying bunch of assholes who are doing this behind closed doors, making your entire like strict rules just feel frivolous, like it would make you feel worse. It would make you feel like, no, that this is just you on a pub trip. You're getting to do all of this. You're having your cake and you're eating it too, as it were. That's definitely a really crude metaphor for this, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So no, like, so I get her tear. It's like, this is even worse than what it was. Like, it was already unimaginable. It was already enough to convince me that, yeah, people would try and commit suicide. I can't blame them for trying to commit suicide in this slavery.
But it now makes more sense to see that she committed suicide after this.
Yeah, this was maybe the final straw. In fact, the fact that we see that flashback in conjunction with this maybe implies that that was the final straw.
I think that's what it was. I think he'd taken her there, and I think his wife maybe knows. I think that's why she says, "Oh, what do you think would happen?" The idea that maybe she thinks that the people at Jezebels, they have it easier because they have got that little bit more freedom to at least say what they want, and she couldn't bear the idea that there were women there that could have a little bit more freedom than her.
Maybe. I don't know if that maybe strikes me. I mean, someone could feel that way. That maybe strikes me as a little bit more petty in a sense, though. I think it's just like, because it stopped. I mean, it's as horrible as it is without that, right? And it is this fascist regime. When you add in the idea that all of the high commanders and stuff are all doing all this old school shit behind closed doors anyway, like the fact that they are just completely disregarding their own rules and having whatever they want. It just feels like it's less about what's good for the country, even if it's completely inhumane and it's horrible and it's not the way you should be doing it. It takes away that entire like facade, and it just becomes, no, this is a bunch of assholes with power trips who have modeled society to benefit them and only them. It's the ultra 1% of the 1% of the 1% getting their way and no one else in every single possible scenario. Yeah,
we spoke, I don't know, a few episodes ago that we mentioned there probably are some handmaids out there who agree with the system to some level. They agree that maybe this is what we need to do to have a population. And maybe the previous handmaid here was one of those. And seeing that the illusion was broken, that no, this isn't all about this. This is just, them getting off.
And I have to wonder, like, how many of the wives know about this place. Like, because I was thinking during the episode, like, surely as much as it was a little bit more difficult maybe to smuggle in your handmaid, he probably comes here a lot. We get the sense that because Nick has that familiarity with other, the women and stuff. It makes me think, well, he probably comes here a lot, and he gets away with it. It's just him. It's just, oh, honey, I'm working late, and he doesn't have to.
How many times is he away on business, but just here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because he even says, when he's talking about these various Jezebels who used to be like, not prostitutes, used to be lawyers and used to be these other things. Although he did say some of them used to be sex workers. Like, there was a mix of people. Yeah. But he said, like, apparently they're very good to talk to if for some reason you want to talk to someone here. Implying that he just comes here for sex. That's what everyone comes here for.
Which I think is actually kind of strange from him, given that we've seen so much of his thing with Offred, and presumably, the previous Offred was having a connection. It kind of seems strange that he doesn't want to talk at all.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he does just like casual sex as well, but obviously the ceremony isn't exactly, in the traditional sense, casual sex. It's a very
strict and organised, structured.
I think with him though, with the handmaids, he does want a connection. He wants it to become more of a thing where he, and I think it's a power thing. I think he feels powerful, like being able to give them treats, like a dog. Like he has that, because we see in the car scene where he's talking about, the wives need to be on board with this, and it almost feels like, they don't get to make decisions. We have to sell it to them like this. And it makes him even, because in Joy's flashbacks a couple of episodes ago, it felt like, he was maybe not too happy that she couldn't be as involved with everything. But then we see this side of it, and it's like, no, it feels like he really did want her to have a lower status than he did, and her to have less opinions and not be able to input thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then another reason for the connection is him is he has to be liked. Like, he can't bear the idea that people, resent him. I think that's part of that power. It's the ego on him means that he has the power, but he needs to be liked and desired with that power all the same.
And or perhaps maybe even it didn't go exactly the same way with the last Handmaid. Maybe this time he is making an extra effort to be liked by her because he doesn't want to drive her to suicide. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah, maybe that is what's different. He was stricter before.
Maybe his tactic last time was much more of a dominant character. Maybe he like barked orders at her. Maybe he treated her exactly like a dog, but not in like a not in a oh good dog pat in the head kind of way. More of a like, oh, you're not doing what you're told, dog, hit kind of thing. Like maybe he's changed his tactics because it ended in suicide last time, and maybe that's changed. So, no, fascinating from a character perspective. And like, so they have sex. Offred sneaks down to talk to Moira. We find out that she got to the train, she almost got out, but the people that was trying to smuggle her out got shot, and she's like, "There's no point in believing in getting out." And that's when, of course, Offred says, "Nah, like, got out. Like, it is possible."
Yeah.
And she says, "Well, that's great, but he's not here. He's not us. We're stuck here." And she's kind of lost any hope right now. And obviously, I don't really blame her. Like, there's not a lot for these characters right now in this world to feel much hope for.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to believe that there will be hope at some point. That there will be, like, you know, I don't buy that in this show, for however long it lasts, that we're not going to see their kid again. That we're not going to have the reunion between Offred and her daughter.
Yeah, it's too obvious, isn't it? I think if we've learned one thing from this episode and the last couple, it's if you don't see a body, they're definitely still alive.
Well, I think even saying too obvious sounds a little bit too cynical. That almost sounds like you're mocking the
No,
writing.
I just mean it's too obvious in that it's the expected thing to do, so it will happen because it's the thing that makes sense in that sense.
Well, see, I think you're being too cold with the way you're describing that. Let me phrase it the way I'd phrase it. It's too good an opportunity for character drama not to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean when it makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you do it? So,
yeah, I just mean your wording was making it almost sound like a criticism because it's like you know it's too obvious to have to do it. But I just want to rephrase that to make it clear that no, it's a good opportunity for what they can do with it, and so
I agree with that.
That's why they're going to do it. But no, them reuniting was good, and obviously now that we know she's in play, we'll hopefully see her again. Do you know we've not seen it off Glenn recently?
No, we had that one episode where she came back,
and she had the car and she went on a little spree, which was glorious, but we've not seen her since.
No, we have not.
And I really want to see what's up with her. I want to see what's going on.
I wonder if she's like been put in solitary after that. So that's the idea. If we keep her away, we'll feel like she has been isolated because we haven't seen anything of her.
Yeah, maybe. But no. So we cut to them coming back out into the car. They come home. Again, there's another great moment where she's got in the car door and like she glances at Nick, and again you feel the really specific and unique awkward set of tension that's going on here because they're secretly a thing. They actually care about each other, but she just had to go up and have sex with him. Like the whole thing is just playing off everything. And then the final few scenes. Obviously, we have the flashback with the suicide, and Nick has to come in and like cut her down or whatever. But we already spoke about that in most detail. So the two things that happen at the end, we have a scene with obviously Joy comes back, but we have a scene with Offred and Nick where Offred says, "Oh, I'll see you later," about their secret meetings to have sex and just have their time together, and he doesn't respond, and she gets kind of this is like, by the way, this is a fantastic scene in terms of acting. Like Elizabeth Moss was just kind of killing it because her slow realization that he's kind of blanking her and just not responding, and then he says, "Oh, we should stop this. It's dangerous," and she's like, "No, it's not." And she, as she's crying, basically says, "Look, yeah, if I get taken away, I might end up in the wall hung. But you know what? At least if I connect with someone, if I connect with you, someone will care. Someone will remember me." And it almost goes back to that opening scene where she's talking about how she's starting to forget her husband, and it's like, I want you to remember me. I want someone to care when I'm gone. And it's obviously it's rough, and it's you can feel the pain, and it's like this is the one good thing she's had in her life recently is him, and she's trying to hold on to it, and the thought of that being taken away is like our one lifeline. And it's just kind of like heartbreaking to see. And he eventually kind of rescinds, because one of the things she says is, "Oh, I don't even know who you are. You never talk about yourself. You never talk about any of this." And again, that ties in with him trying to keep distant. Like,
Yeah.
sure, he's growing attached to her, but he's done it whilst trying not to, by not telling her things about his life and stuff like that. But he eventually admits that, no, I was born in Michigan, this is my name, kind of thing. But she actually rejects the idea. Like, but at that point, she's so upset by the conversation that
it's too late.
yeah, she's hurt by what he's just done. And what I kind of liked about that scene as well, the way it kind of ends, is that she still technically shouldn't be able to talk to him like this. Where she basically tells him, I mean, she doesn't say piss off, but that's basically what she does at the end and walks out. And he's left there kind of like lost for words. Like, he should feel powerful enough to just like give it a try. And he can't really, because obviously if
It gets him into trouble as well, doesn't it? That's the problem.
If they hear him sounding off at her, of course, yeah. But it's just this thing where it feels like a real connection, because he doesn't then go, "Oh, I'm in charge, you should not talk to me like that." He feels hurt by what's just happened and regret. And again, a constant theme of this episode with Nick is regret and guilt. And these things. So yeah, that's good. But the scene that I really like at the end is so Serena Joy gives Offred a gift, and she gives her this little lockbox, and she's like, "Here's a key." Now, before she opened it, I was like, wait, is she giving her something she can have, like a private box? Like, just the idea that she can have something that's just hers inside that box.
And then you're going, why? This seems too nice.
It does, but maybe this is the start of Joy becoming more human, because we've seen, obviously, she was more human at one point, and she's... Even she doesn't have the same rate she did before. We've talked about that a lot, and how the wives are... Even if they are kind of willing into it, and even if they're pretending they're not, being shat on by the system, they are. But she opens the box, and it's like a ballerina box, and I was like, now she actually said the metaphor in the next scene, which I was annoyed by, because I was going to joke about how obvious it was, but they brought it up, so fair enough.
That's it, isn't it? It's like, okay, our job's here done. We've got nothing to analyse, because they said it for everyone.
I know, exactly. I was going, because she's like the little dancing, like, this is what she just did for him. She put a dress on her, and she was dancing for him. Not literally dancing, but essentially. Like, she was putting on a show for him because he opened the box.
She's doing the part because he's the one with the key.
And I was like, and then she said it, and the next thing, like, oh, great, now we don't get to sound smart.
I know. So annoying, isn't it?
Bastards. Dear. But obviously the metaphor still works, and the idea that she has her own little mirror as well, and the reflective nature of it is, again, ties back to him holding up the mirror at the start of the episode. It's like he's still holding the mirror, even if he's not literally doing it.
I think it's interesting though here now. She has control over that mirror. It's something that is hers. She can see what she wants.
This was a really interesting thing about the scene for me, is that like, the commander takes her out for this night out, and he keeps saying, "Oh, it's for you. It's a bit of excitement. It's a lovely night for you," and everything. He keeps pretending it's for her, but it's not. It's for him. It's for him to stroke his ego. It's for him to have her dressed up like an attractive woman, air quotes, like the olden times, as it were. And it's all for him. He dresses her up. He takes her out. Everything's for him, but he keeps masking it as this gift to her. Whereas Serena Joy, who we've seen get angry at her, the punishment after they thought she was pregnant, but it turned out she wasn't, and other times, and we've seen her be a complete cold bitch to her, this little olive branch felt genuine. It felt like an actual gift.
Yeah, I mean, part of me thinks still the metaphor works from her perspective as well. Obviously the idea that she has a key too. So is it an olive branch? Well, yeah, she does, in a sense. Like we've seen her get angry. She has power around the house, especially when the commander's away.
Oh, wait, no, I meant literally.
Oh, right, okay, sorry. I meant a key to her. Sorry. Sorry. I was going with the metaphor still.
All right, she has a key. I was like, did she? When did she have a key? I didn't see a key.
Yeah. So is it an olive branch, or is it just, no, this is a reminder that I'm in charge here.
I don't know. The way I read the facial expressions after, because she said thank you, and the thank you felt, because every time Offred says thank you to the commander, you can feel the forced acting in a good way. Like, it's not bad acting from her. It's good acting because she's emulating the fact that she doesn't really want to say it, but she's pretending to. But here it felt like a genuine thank you, and Joy has that moment of weakness where she kind of smiles back, and then she sort of puts her stern face back on. Like, she realizes she's like exposing herself a little bit, and she clamps back down. No, the armor's back on, and it felt like a genuine little moment of connection. What prompted this from her? I'm not sure. I mean,
I think that's why I'm being cynical, because I don't know why she would be
yeah.
changing. So I'm just going the cynical route still.
It might be visiting her mother. It might be because she spoke about how it was in her bedroom as a child. Maybe she's remembering the fact that she used to have all this freedom, and she, because we know from before she's a writer. She actually had more of a
Yeah.
status before, and I wonder if maybe visiting her mother opened something up, at least a little bit, where she wanted to give her a gift.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's possible. The show makes me cynical.
I get that, but I'm looking for hope where hope could be, and
Yeah.
I feel like Serena finally coming to the light side of the Force is a route that we could be taking at some point.
It's possible. I won't. I
Yeah.
won't argue on that.
And of course, we end with Offred writing in because now she has the key that she can use to scrape into the thing, which makes you wonder if I'm going the cynical side with you. Was it a key previously? Was this box something the old handmaid was also given, and it was the same key
Mm.
that she used to carve into the wall?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
that's true.
That's you infecting with your cynicism, but she writes in it, "You are not alone," just in case she's not here at some point and someone else comes in.
Yeah.
They don't have to feel like they're alone, and it goes back to that idea of being strong. But the camera pulls back as she's in the cupboard, in the closet, and she's like, "I will not be the woman in the box." And it's almost I felt like it was a declaration, like one way or another, I'm going to fight back. I don't know how
Yeah.
yet, maybe, but I'm not, because that was the other thing in the scene with Nick when she's like talking to him about everything. She's crying. She says, "Is this all you want in life? Like, polish his car and occasionally maybe try and get a handmaid pregnant. Is this it for you? Is this enough?" The idea that even he, if he's not realizing it, is again restricted by the society. He doesn't just get to do whatever he wants. Like,
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's only those top commanders that actually have freedom
yeah,
because they have the ability to break the
he's
rules.
not free at all. So, and he's
Yeah.
delusional if he thinks he is. Sure, he has more freedom than she does, but again, it's just all these steps. It's just these different ranks of freedom and how much rights they have. So, no, I thought it was another good episode. Of course, we're 2 away from the finale.
Yeah, that's the annoying thing about having got three at once on that first week, that it feels like I've been cheated out of time with the show.
I know, because we're almost done already.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
I do feel like I've been cheated out of a few weeks extra of the show.
but no, that's Jezebels episode 8. So that was another great episode. This has been a great season so far. I have little to complain about. It's been so strong, storytelling wise.
Absolutely.
So here we are. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Helps us out a lot. You can help us out a bit more by going over to patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV and see what bonuses you can get over there for supporting us. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much for watching once again. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?